This process is mathematically guaranteed to make your music better. Say you're almost finished making a track. You've got all the ideas down. You've got a bass line, the drums, the synths, maybe a vocal. I think this is where a lot of people get stuck. It sounds more like a demo than a professional release. And this track here, perfect example of the process I'm about to show you. The track is a collab I did with two other artists, Daniel Best and Higher Lane. They actually wrote and produced the entire song. When they sent it to me, it sounded like this.
Oh, you got me.
I really liked the overall idea for the track and everything they had done, but it was sounding more like a rough demo than a polished release. So this whole 4-step process is what I did to take it up to the next level, and you can do this with any of your own tracks. Step 1 is to identify the hook of your song. In traditional music, the hook is usually part of the vocal, but it doesn't have to be a vocal. It could be a lead synth melody or a catchy piano part. It's the one thing you want people to remember after they listen to your track. So they sent me all the stems for the song, and I was listening to it. But I wasn't really hearing a hook. So I started to look through all these layers, and there was actually this one sound I found right here that was buried underneath everything else. So I thought that's actually a really cool melody. It's really simple, but sometimes the best melodies are the most simple ones. So I decided that should be the hook. The bass line and all the other synths were cool, but they're not that memorable. You need some kind of melody to get stuck in your head. Once you identify the hook of your song, just forget about everything else. It's not that important. Step 2 is to take this melody and test it with as many sounds as possible. The more, the better. Here's some different ideas I came up with. The idea here is to give yourself as many options as possible. So you come up with just 2 options for the lead sound. Now compare that to if you came up with 20 different ideas. If you pick the best sound out of 2 versus the best sound out of 20, there's a way higher probability that this sound is going to be higher quality. What we're trying to do here is increase the quality of the most important elements in the track. So after testing a ton of different sounds, this is the one I picked. Now that we've done all that work to pick the right sound, step 3 is to let it breathe and give it space. If we block out the hook with all these other layers, it's gonna make it a lot less memorable. That's what was happening when I got the original demo. This sound right here was completely blocking out the melody. To the point where in the full mix you couldn't even hear the melody. What tends to happen when you're producing a track, and I know I'm guilty of this, is you get really attached to every single sound that you're adding or creating for it. So when you spend a lot of time on this really cool background sound, it makes you want to turn it up really loud in the mix. So you turn up all these sounds in the mix, and it just sounds like a big wall of sound. All these extra sounds, they're great, but whoever's listening to your track on Spotify, they don't need to hear those sounds, they need to feel them. So in my version of the track, I made sure all these layers were turned down and stayed in the background, so they gave the lead space to cut through. You really don't need to waste that much time obsessing over how background synths sound. It's all about the feeling they add to the track and nothing more. In electronic music, the drums and the bass are almost as important as the hook. They're the foundation for the whole track. So we have to repeat the process with those 2 elements, the drums and the bass. You can test out a ton of different drum sounds and a ton of different bass sounds. The more options we have, the higher the probability that the quality will go up. So this was the original bass line. And after testing different options and layers, this is what I came up with instead. and this was the original drum beat. After a bunch of testing, this is what I came up with. So we were able to squeeze that extra quality out of this track just by using this simple process. Now I'll play the finished track with everything together. It's out now on Spotify. Go stream it, save it, add it to your playlist. Thanks for watching. Peace.
You got me.